Andy Austin here with a new series of videos where I am going to reveal the things I've learned about weight loss and about weight gain. Basically, what makes people fat and how do they lose that fat? How do they basically control their eating? Not as easy as one would like. Now, these videos are going to be quite numerous. I'm going to put out one every few days. Do please click that like, subscribe, and notification button, and that will let you know when the next video gets uploaded, and then you can enjoy that one too. And also please leave comments in the section below because it helps with the promotion. Now, in this first video, as revealed by the title, it's the relationship between information processing and metaphors of eating. Those that are familiar with my work will be familiar with the fact that I do a lot of stuff around metaphors. I would love to claim credit for this one. It's not mine. I actually came across this in a book called The Pleasure Principle, I think it was, by Stella Resnick. And she in turn credits a couple of other people. So this is old information. It's been known for a long time. And it's not mine, basically. And this is the relationship between the words that we use to describe processing of information and the way that we eat. Is that our information processing style matches our eating and digestion style. Let me give you some examples. We talk about a news feed. We talk about swallowing an idea. The word gullible comes from the Old English word gull, which means a fool, also means to swallow. I can't believe he swallowed that. He swallowed it hook, line, and sinker. Some people will ruminate on an idea. They like to chew it over. They like to allow the idea to, it's got to settle, they've got to digest it, they've got to sleep on it, you know. In data processing, we talk about bits, bytes, and nibbles. This is information data size. And some people bite off more than they can chew, so the data chunk they've got is too big. I don't like ideas being forced down people's throats. Some people like to take things in bite-sized chunks, one bit at a time. Some people like to take their information in all in one go, and some people like to take their time and really chew it over. Now, some ideas can be sugar-coated, and we can talk about spilling the beans in terms of revealing information. We can also think in terms of what do you hunger for? Do you hunger for information? Do you hunger for knowledge? Some people might have verbal diarrhea, and some people are emotionally constipated. Now, the way that we process information generally is uses digestion metaphor. And that is kind of interesting when you start to look at what is the relationship between how you handle information and how you eat. Here was a thing that I saw when I was working as a nurse, and I used to do the one-to-one work, what they called specialing. And one of the things I would do is look after the anorexics who were basically they were forced into hospital to have treatment because they were very, very unwell indeed through starvation. Now, one of the things I observed with the anorexics is they're pretty closed to new information and concepts. There's a degree of cynicism that goes into the mindset of anorexic. And despite the fact these people being extremely ill, they would still be rejecting food. They would have all sorts of tubes and pipes going into various orifices and veins to try and give them some kind of nutrition or electrolytes, whatever was being given to help try and keep them alive. And my job was simply to stare at them and to make sure that they didn't do anything untoward to themselves. And of course, if I just turned my back for 1 second, tubes would be pulled out and they'd just sit there and go, well, I don't know what happened. And they'd pulled out the NG tube and various other bits and pieces, which of course then was always my fault as far as the management was concerned. So my job was to try and keep the tubes in these people. One of the things that caught my attention was the relationship the anorexics would have with the staff and also with their family, and the brick wall they would present in terms of people trying to get through to them. And I saw it all being done, holding up a mirror to go, you're not fat, you're really thin, can't you see you're just a skeleton? Well, that doesn't work, does it? Of course it doesn't work. But the anorexic person would deny that information. It's obvious they're a skeleton, but they would just deny, change the subject, twist it round, and essentially nothing was going in. It was as easy to get information about them into that patient as it was to get nutrition into them. And that seemed to be a very strong relationship between those two things. The rejection of information and the rejection of food. Now let's look at the bulimics. Now the bulimics are people who will eat socially. They can fit in. They can fit in socially very, very well. Now socially, the bulimics can fit in very, very well. They're the social chameleon. They will attend the dinner. They will be seen to be eating, but then make an excuse halfway through or at the end of the meal and go and privately bring it all back up again. When I started working with bulimics as clients, I was quite impressed with them. I was told that bulimics would be very, very difficult to work with, and yet whenever I worked with them, they appeared to take everything in and appeared to listen intently. The social chameleon thing, they would fit in very, very well into the processes that I was trying to do and the help that I was offering. But of course, unknown to me, they take it all in, but they're not assimilating, they're not absorbing, they're not integrating any of the information that I give them, much like how they behave with food. The bulimic will fill the stomach, but not actually assimilate that much because most of it gets regurgitated and spewed back out again, sort of semi-digested. They'll pretty much be able to do that with information too. So in the psychoeducation of bulimic patients, what I was noticing was that in the psychoeducational thing, they could repeat stuff back to me absolutely perfectly, but they didn't assimilate any of that information into their system. There was almost like a defense mechanism that was going on there, but they could give a very, very good impression. And again, this was another very good example of the relationship between information processing style and eating. Now let's look at some of the obese people that I've worked with. One of the things that I recognized as a younger person back then that I was, and a very skinny person, I'm still pretty skinny now, apart from getting a bit of a belly fat, but I've always been pretty skinny. And I recognized a difference between myself and some of the overweight nurses that I would work with. Essentially, when I'm dealing with emotional information that people give me, I deal with it in the here and now, and then I'm pretty much done and move on very quickly. I tend to forget it quite quick. I don't remember to ask people. If they've been telling me problems today, I see them in a week's time, it doesn't occur to me to ask them. I'm sorry, but it just doesn't. And yet, some of the overweight nurses I used to work with, they were very good at retaining information. And they would remember things of people over quite long periods of time, enough to be able to make an inquiry. And I recognized that the emotional retention, or the emotional information retention that some of these people would have was quite remarkable compared to myself. And I developed this motif at the time, which was if you got an emotional problem you want to share with somebody and actually have that person remember it later on, don't tell it to the skinny guy. Don't tell it to this guy, because I'm not going to be very good at remembering that. You may well have to remind me of it later on. But when you tell it to the overweight person, they do tend to remember it. Now, in this series, I'm going to be building on that particular theme as well, because there's a lot more to that particular aspect. So, here is your task if you're interested in this kind of stuff. Listen out for information processing idioms and metaphors. And I'll put a list of some in the description section here. Listen for how you use them, but also start to pay attention to what is your information processing style, what's your learning style, and also how does that relate to how you eat. My thing is very simple in terms of how I learn. Just give me the information now, let me take it away. I don't really need to have a sharing experience around my learning. I'm pretty much the same with eating. I've never quite understood this whole social eating thing. I've never been one for that, for dinner parties or going out to restaurants. When we go to restaurants and then it's a starter and then there's the thing and then or it's one of those ones where they bring you a little plate of something and they take that away, then they bring you another little plate of something and it's like 10 courses of tiny little things. I can't bear it. Just bring it all now and let me eat it in my own time. I'm the same with education and learning. I'm not a very good student when the educational process is slow. Just let me have access to all the information I need right now. I'll do the rest. I don't need to be paced by somebody else. And I'm the same when it comes to restaurants. I'm not very good with restaurants. So where are the correlations? And do please use the comment section below for that. Now, other things to start to look at. We have, in terms of, there's the chunk size of what we take on. Do you like it in big chunks or small chunks? Are you somebody who gorges on it, or do you take it one small piece at a time? We also have the rate in which it comes in. So some people like one small piece on a regular, slow basis. Some people will have small pieces, but in quick succession. We then have how do you chew it over? How do you swallow it? How do you retain it? And then we have, for information, we've got the assimilation and the absorption and transformation. Because we will absorb the food in, we assimilate some of it into our body cells, and we transform some of it into movement and energy and so forth, and heat and all that kind of stuff. We can do the same thing with information. How do you process information? Some people just take information in, and that's it. You've met them, these students who can remember every detail they've been taught on the course. They understand nothing, but they're a fact machine. They can remember all the facts and details. So they're very good at exams. Then you have people like myself. I cannot remember facts and figures and details and names and nouns and that kind of stuff, but I understand the principles. That's why I fail exams. I get the principles, but don't ask me to put a reference in. I don't know. I haven't a clue. So some people are very good at assimilating the information, and some people also, to big myself up a little bit more, I'm very good at transformation and utilization of information. Now, I pretty much do the same thing with food. I think I have a high metabolism, and I am able to take food in and I assimilate, transform, and utilize that, rather than simply absorb it and let it sit in my fat cells around my body. Now, that's not a conscious thing. I'm just using this metaphorically. So these are some of the concepts to have a little think on. Do please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. There's more to come in this series. The next video will be uploaded in a day or two.